You may not realize it yet, but weakness is not always a lack of strength. Sometimes weakness is the refusal to confront what makes you uncomfortable, to face what frightens you, to admit what you already know but don't want to acknowledge. Weakness doesn't always look like failure. It can hide in the disguise of perfectionism, in the illusion of kindness, in the habit of always taking the safe road. It can be in the lies you tell yourself, the ones that say, "I'm not ready, I don't have time, I just want peace." But Friedrich Nietzsche had no interest in such illusions. He was not a comforting thinker. He was not a philosopher of convenience. He stripped away the polite fictions we tell ourselves and demanded a confrontation with the rawest parts of being human. The parts that tremble, the parts that rage, the parts that long, and the parts that are afraid to long too much. If you feel stuck, it's not because you're broken. It's because you've made peace with too many things that dishonor you. You've normalized avoidance. You've spiritualized passivity. You've labeled fear as intuition, when really it's self-preservation dressed up as wisdom. And Nietzsche would say, "This is your weakness." He wouldn't scold you. He wouldn't shame you. But he would shine a harsh light. Not to humiliate you, but to free you. Because weakness, in his view, isn't just physical. It's spiritual, moral, existential. Weakness is the refusal to claim your power, and instead live in the comfort of borrowed beliefs, second-hand truths, and inherited excuses. You scroll, you compare, you envy, you shrink, you wait for the right moment, the right partner, the right sign. You build altars out of uncertainty and call it patience. You keep saying, "One day I'll change." But Nietzsche would interrupt. What if that day never comes? Because the harsh truth, the one you avoid every time you reach for your phone instead of your journal, is this: no one is coming to rescue you. Not the love of your life, not your next promotion, not your therapist, not your friends. You are your only revolution. And the longer you delay the war within, the more of your life you surrender to shadows. Nietzsche believed that weakness is not a permanent state, but it becomes one when we refuse to suffer. And yes, he believed suffering was essential. Not for its own sake, not as punishment, but as transformation. He called it the path of the Übermensch, the overman, the human being who goes beyond conventional morality, who doesn't simply obey rules, but creates meaning from chaos, who stares into the abyss and doesn't flinch. But most people are afraid of the abyss. They're afraid of solitude, of pain, of failure, of being misunderstood. So they become last men, Nietzsche's term for the spiritually lazy, the ones who prefer comfort over greatness, numbness over intensity, pleasantries over passion. And the terrifying thing is, society rewards the last men. They're well behaved. They don't challenge the status quo. They smile when they're supposed to. They say the right things. But inside they are hollow. Not because they're evil, but because they have buried their fire. They've traded their uniqueness for acceptance, their fire for peace, their will for routine. They're not living, they're maintaining. They aren't free, they're simply untroubled. But peace without meaning is not peace, it's sedation. It's a quiet surrender. It's the stillness that comes not from depth, but from numbness. And the soul knows the difference. Nietzsche's message wasn't for everyone. It was for those who feel the stirrings of something deeper, the ones who are tired of pretending, the ones who secretly know, I am made for more, but I'm afraid of what it will cost me. If that's you, this message is yours. You feel weak, not because you are unworthy, but because you are disconnected from your will to power, as Nietzsche called it. The inner force that does not seek approval, but actualization. The part of you that doesn't care about applause, only truth. But truth is heavy. It isolates. It offends. It demands that you stand alone, at least for a time. And most people can't bear that. So they trade truth for acceptance. They become likable, palatable, predictable. And in doing so, they become strangers to themselves. Have you ever noticed how tired you feel after socializing with people who don't know the real you? That isn't introversion. That's self-abandonment. Have you ever felt paralyzed in front of a choice you know is right, but terrifies you? That isn't caution. That's internal war. Have you ever stayed in a job, a city, a relationship, not because you love it, but because you fear what comes next? That's weakness, and it multiplies every time you turn away from your deeper knowing. Nietzsche wouldn't offer you a mantra. He wouldn't tell you to trust the universe. He'd tell you to trust yourself, but only after you've stripped yourself bare. After you've questioned every borrowed belief, after you've faced the part of you that wants to disappear when things get hard. He'd tell you the only way out is through the discomfort, through the loss, through the death of the old self. You want rebirth without the burial. But that's not how transformation works. To become strong, you must become honest. Ruthlessly, intimately honest. What are you pretending not to know? What part of your life have you outgrown but still cling to? Whose voice are you still trying to please? Nietzsche's version of strength isn't bravado. It's not about domination or control. It's about becoming. Becoming someone who doesn't rely on external validation. Someone who creates values instead of borrowing them. Someone who would rather be rejected for their truth than accepted for their mask. That kind of strength doesn't come from affirmations. It comes from confrontation. You must confront the ways you betray yourself. When you say yes, but mean no. When you avoid hard conversations. When you stay silent to keep the peace. When you delay your dreams because of what others might think. Each time you chip away at your soul. Each time you say, I am not worthy of my own life. And Nietzsche would ask, why? Who taught you that your truth was dangerous? That your desires were too much? That your voice was only valuable if it agreed with the crowd? Find that origin and burn it. Because weakness is not cured by willpower. It is cured by awakening. By waking up to the fact that your life is yours. That your time is not infinite. that every moment spent in hiding is a moment lost to fear. You say you want freedom, but Nietzsche would challenge, what will you sacrifice for it? Because freedom has a cost. You must sacrifice comfort. You must sacrifice certainty. You must sacrifice the illusion that someone else will give you permission to live fully. The brutal truth is this: no one will. You are waiting for a moment that will never come. You're waiting to feel ready, to feel fearless, to feel healed. But readiness is a myth. Fearlessness is a lie. Healing is a process, not a prerequisite. Strength isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act in spite of it. It's the willingness to be seen, even when you're shaking. It's the choice to speak, even when your voice trembles. It's the courage to let go of what's safe for what's true. Nietzsche once said,
"No price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." So the question becomes, will you pay it? Or will you continue to hide behind reasons, routines, and rehearsed personas? If you're tired of feeling weak, don't look for motivation, look for honesty, because deep down, you already know what needs to be done. You already know what's killing your spirit. You already know what you've settled for. You already know what you're capable of and how far from it you are living. The gap between who you are and who you pretend to be, that's where your weakness lives. And the only way to close that gap is to leap